This is the EndZone. Let's move the chains. Garrett Gilbert played lights out and almost upset the best defense in the NFL in his first ever NFL start. People forget that he was a former 5-star quarterback, came in for injured Colt McCoy, almost beat Bama, had kind of a rough game statistically, but when you watch the game, a lot of his receivers dropped the ball, and he was there at the end. He finished his college career with 9,761 passing yards and over 1,000 rushing yards. He was drafted in 2014, played for the Rams, Patriots, Lions, Raiders, and finally the Panthers, where he saw his first little game action, just one game. And in 2018, things changed. The Alliance of American Football called. Steve Spurrier, legendary head coach, drafts Garrett Gilbert to the Orlando Apollos, and since then, something clicked in Garrett Gilbert's game. In just 8 games, Garrett Gilbert led his team with a 60% completion percentage, 13 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He was the best quarterback, best player in all of the Alliance of American Football. He was the league star, but unfortunately, the Alliance had to suspend operations and file for bankruptcy. In the AAF, Gilbert changed totally as a passer. He showed that he could cut down on turnovers, use his mobility as a weapon to extend plays, push the ball downfield, be accurate, and anticipate wide receivers. He also used his athleticism a lot to extend plays, and he did much, much more. He caught the eyes of the Cleveland Browns in 2019, but again, saw little playing time and eventually fell back to their practice squad. In 2020, when COVID hits, the Dallas Cowboys need new quarterbacks, and they saw Dak Prescott and Andy Dalton, the Red Rocket, go down with major injuries. After a rough outing from rookie Ben DiNucci, the Cowboys had no choice but to pull the trigger and turn to 29-year-old former Gatorade National Player of the Year and Mr. Texas Football, the Texas man himself, Garrett Gilbert. In Gilbert's first start ever, he faced one of the NFL's top defenses, an undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers team. Gilbert threw for 243 yards with a touchdown and a pick, but showed real promise as an older player. Gilbert is deceivingly athletic and showed great ability to escape while keeping his eyes downfield or even run for a nice scamper. He also showed that he was a great pocket presence against a D-line that includes Cam Hayward, Stephon Tuitt, and TJ Watt. On multiple occasions, he stepped up in the pocket and threw some perfect balls, and at the end, Gilbert turned the ball over in the red zone and came up short to upsetting probably the second or first best team in all of the NFL. Listen, Dallas depended on Gilbert, and they put a lot on his shoulders, and he responded well. He had great poise and maturity. Some might say he is better than Andy Dalton in this position. That's why I want to ask you, while he wasn't perfect against the Pittsburgh Steelers, you also have to remember, this is his first NFL start going against one of the best teams in the NFL with one of the worst teams in the NFL, almost pulling off the upset. A lot of Dallas fans and a lot of people have been critical of Andy Dalton in the Dallas offense. They've been critical of Mike McCarthy and how things have been going. Ezekiel Elliott wasn't much help. He had 18 carries, but only averaged around 2 yards per carry. Tony Pollard had more yards per carry, but only rushed it 9 times. He played better than Elliott, but Elliott really didn't see much. They didn't really throw to Elliott, so there wasn't really much help. The wide receiving core, of course, from Dallas is loaded, but Garrett Gilbert really shined for Dallas against one of the best teams in the NFL, a game that a lot of people thought and wrote off as a blowout. Garrett Gilbert did not really disappoint. So my question to you is, should Dallas keep Garrett Gilbert in, a guy who came in and exceeded expectations, as opposed to Andy Dalton, who wasn't really playing well, and then he got injured against Washington? I know a lot of people like Andy Dalton, but hey, the season is kind of over for the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be hard for them to make the playoffs if they have any dreams of it, and I think that maybe, just maybe, play Garrett Gilbert a couple more games. I know I'm biased because I'm a huge Alliance of American Football fan, and I loved Garrett Gilbert in that league, but I think that Garrett Gilbert can shine, and I think that if you're Dallas, hey, you might as well, because he looked great against the Steelers, and maybe you can knock off a couple other teams in the NFL. I'd love to know your opinions. As always, thanks for watching the End Zone. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so we can move the chains.